It's whatever elderly Alaji here had said, as an Omoluabi, you know, from the Southwest. So I just want to observe that. A debate is supposed to be an exchange of thought. I am not going to use dismissive words here. But going forward to this question on Boko Haram, it's expected when you have a group of terrorists that has international connection with the demolition, as it were, of the ISIS in the Syrian-Iraq axis. There's a movement, you know, into the West African area. And of course, the West African area in the terrorist map is represented by the Boko Haram, which actually has two factions. Now, the group had been decimated in terms of base inclination, in terms of acquisition of territory. Of course, we see this revival, which may happen. There's the effect of globalization as it impacts productivity and development, also impacts, what do you call it? Impact terrorism, as it were. So that is the effect we are seeing. But of course, you can trust the president. The swift manner he moved and responded to the Metele attack tells me that I have a commander-in-chief that is focused and, of course, that is vibrant. He did not just only move to Metele barracks to talk, to Maiduguri to talk to the frontline soldiers, the troop in the front line. He also immediately called for a meeting of the Lake Chad Basin because that is the core of our neighboring countries' governance. And by bringing the leaders of these countries together to be able to share thoughts on the new strategies by the Boko Haram, we know that there's a direction, there's a strategy that will be implemented. So we should appreciate the fact that the president is up to the task at every point in time. And don't also forget that it is just in 2016, you know, that this government started addressing the rot in the military, in the Nigerian armed forces over the last 16 years.
If I may come in here, Mr. Akinsiju. Mr. Akinsiju, I just want to take you a little bit back. You just said something about the resurgence or the revival of the insurgency. You say you compare it to the evolution or the revival going around the world technology-wise. Is that a good comparison?
No. I'm saying globalization. Globalization creates interlink, you know, between countries, between interests.
Mr. Akinsiju, 1 second, please. You think the globalization around the world, as good as it may be, is also what's happening with the insurgency, and then they are coming up again to begin to attack the Nigerian people? Is that a good comparison? That's the question.
Now, what I'm saying is a good comparison because you can now see a movement from the ISIS-Syria, ISIS-Iraq axis moving into the West African sub-region. It's not even new. A faction of Boko Haram had declared itself a direct section, a direct group, subgroup of the international ISIS group, you know, and that it has direct influence over it. That's part of globalization in the terrorist world. And
what proactive steps?
Terrorism.
Now, seeing that the insurgency is being affected by the globalization and seeing that they are evolving, so to speak, what proactive steps were taken or have been taken to ensure that it doesn't go too far?
Yeah, it's obvious. I just talked about the Lake Chad Commission, the calling of the meeting by the president of all head of states in the Lake Chad Basin Commission, the head of state of Cameroon, the head of state of Niger Republic, the head of state of Chad, the head of state of Benin Republic, that forms the multinational joint task force. Because again, we have to do this as a group because the first level of decimation was done in collaboration with these countries. And that is what the government is doing. And yes, our government, some people, you know, in the opposition were talking about $1 billion, you know, that was approved for arms. That where is this $1 billion? It's clear now. The chief of army staff had come out to say that the $1 billion had not even been released in the first instance. We ordered for Tuscany jets. There was so much uproar from our PDP friends over why we had to order for Tuscany jets from America. And of course, we were saying that this was part of the proactive measure, but that the Tuscany jets will not be ready until 2020 or thereabouts.
Why is it that the $1 billion, what's delaying the release of the $1 billion, seeing that this insurgency is as decimated as you say it's been, doesn't seem to be going away? What's delaying the release of the money?
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. It may be government process and all that. But what I know is that even within the last 2 years, the government had empowered and harmed the Nigerian armed forces much more than any time in the last 16 years. You know, and for us, that is a major achievement.